Signore, buongiorno, benvenuti.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to Voice. On behalf of our President, Mr. Cagnoni, and of the CEO, Corrado Peragoni, I'd like to thank you for being here, both online and here physically online on our online channel, on the Facebook account, and on our platform. Voice is a new initiative that has been born a few months ago. It is certainly a bold initiative on behalf of IEG, Italian Exhibition Group, that has been developed together with our partners. The design started in our area with our community, starting from the requirements of associations of buyers and manufacturers. Voice actually stands for our attempt to give the floor to an industry. After an historical session of Vicenza Oro in January 2019, and 2020 actually, we had a very successful edition, and nobody would have expected them to have a lockdown for so many weeks and months. And now we'd like to start on a new footing. We are celebrating an important event. We are shouldering our responsibility together with 370 companies that are included in the Voice project, whom we'd like to thank for the lively spirit with which they have interpreted this event. Voice is trying to give new voice to the industry, to re-establish human relationships, and to carry on with our training effort. Indeed, trade shows are not just a trading element opportunity, but also important opportunities to tackle our hot topics and have the market improve and grow with the improved learning on all the members of the community. We talked about technology, trend and design, sustainability. We're going to talk about technology today as well, one of the major assets of our Made in Italy. So we're talking about technology and innovation. We're doing so with a great partner of ours, the Club Degli Orafi, indeed the managing director, Alexandra Trosin, is here with us. So I'd like to invite Alexandra Trosin to introduce the companies that are here represented. I'd like to thank them all, and I wish you a pleasant meeting. Thank you for your contribution. Not just now, but for the contribution that you're given to the industry at large. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome on my personal behalf. I have the honor and the pleasure to chair over this prestigious panel. I'd like to welcome all our speakers, Ungarelli, the President di Vendorafa Lombardi and past President of the Club Degli Orafi Italia, Simona Demeglio, Product Manager of Roberto Demeglio, members to the Club of Orafi, Duccio Vitali, the CEO of Alkemy, Gian Andrea Garrone di Vendorafa, Paolo Bettinardi, CEO of Better Silver, as well as Mr. Nardin, CEO of Fope. So thank you very much for being with us, and thank you for following us on streaming. As members to the club, we tackled the subject of innovation in the past as well, from different perspectives. At this specific point in time, we decided to talk about innovation 360 degrees. So our objective today is to understand what best practices are and what are the scenarios that are before our eyes at this specific point in time again in the next normal situation. So I'd like to start off with a question for Duccio, Mr. Duccio Vitali, CEO of Alkemy. You are an international player who worked very much on technology and digital innovation. What do you think that innovation implies today, and to what extent innovation can bring about an added value to a company that is member to our industry? Thank you for your question, Alexandra. Certainly, the question that you raised is not trivial at all. actually, digital has come to the fore with the lockdown, and I think that we have to grasp the opportunity, not just to overcome the crisis at this point of time, because I believe that digital can be a leverage for the innovation of the business with a wider perspective. So how could we use digital technology innovation to add value to our companies? Because obviously we don't want to go digital just to have a website and become visible and work with the e-commerce. Let's make one step backward. Let's have a look at the past. In this slide, you see the top first companies in terms of stock exchange capital between 2005 and 2019. There are two important things to consider in this time lapse. There is the crisis that in 2008 affected economy violently. And then in June 2007, iPhone was launched. And this corresponds to the beginning of digital. In 2008, we had a decline in economy, and after 2007, we also had an increase for iPhone. As you see, the value increased in 2017, also thanks to digital. Digital created value in economy. Gray stands for traditional companies in this chart, and in 2005 that accounted for the overwhelming majority of the economic value worldwide. What happened over time is that the value that was created by digital innovation has been taken up by digital companies, and as a matter of fact, the top 5 companies are all digital. So the digital innovation has created new value, but this value hasn't been taken advantage of by traditional companies, only by digital companies. There is a way whereby this value can also be shared with traditional companies. So let's start from the top chart. If compared to digital, as a matter of fact, there are 3 different stages. There's one first stage of where companies basically don't use digital channels, or they only use them either badly or poorly. No digital, poor digital. Then there's a time when the companies start working effectively. They develop good websites, integrating new technologies, starting with e-commerce experiences. But basically, they continue doing things as they used to, and that is the segregated digital phase. The phase wherein companies have a chief digital officer, somebody who's very skilled, but the rest of the company basically goes on as earlier on, i.e. with traditional business. And then there is a third phase where companies start taking advantage of the technology as made available by digital world to improve the value and the customer experience of the clients. So basically they distribute new services, or they transform the services on offer. This slope, Gaussian slope, stands for the distribution also of different companies. But let me dwell on the bottom part of the chart, which is the value created by digital technologies for companies. The beginning obviously is 0, because if you don't do anything, there's 0 value. But the situation remains basically unchanged also during the second stage. Basically, they add one or additional channel. So if they start with a social channel, they have to invest, for example, on Instagram, or they open up new channels. They have to spend for that. It is only in the third stage that companies start generating new value. And that slope, that upturn, is something that can be seen clearly. And we have accompanied many companies through the digital transformation phase that actually requires a stepping between one and the other. And it is at the third stage, basically, that you see a change. And the shift, obviously, requires the 3 stages. You cannot go from 1 to 3. 1.5 years ago, we carried out survey on all the companies in Italy. And 1/3 still were tackling with the beginning. They were doing very poorly digitally. Then the overwhelming majority was still in the segregated digital phase, and it's only 11% of the companies that started off on the third phase. This is why the value still stays with digital companies. But the central stage is all important because you feel like you do something, you hire somebody who's specialized with digital technologies, you may develop a very nice website, you start with e-commerce, and in that case you are not creating value. And there's a risk there because the opportunity that this crisis may provide us is grasp the opportunity to transform our business model, adding value, because stopping in this middle phase would be a mistake. These are the industries, and obviously the red dot stands for the average. There are some that are at an earlier point and some that are better developed. So you see that there are consumer goods, services, TMT stands for telecom, media and technology, and then financial services. Obviously, our industries are lagging behind in a way between stage 1 and stage 2, which is an opportunity, because if I missed an opportunity and I might run the risk of losing the business, but because we're still starting, we can actually get on top of it. You see that industries that are running to the fore are the ones that are more exposed, because our customers, in a way, are much more advanced than we are. There are And why is it so complicated? Why getting between one stage and the other so complicated? And this is my last slide, by the way. Usually I don't like to use the word disruption, but as a way, actually, digital has introduced 3 important disruptions that I'm listing in a minute. The first is the subject of customer experience. Digital technologies allow for also intermediated companies that don't get in touch with their clients directly. But with digital, I can actually manage the customer experience because my potential client experience a certain requirement or need. 70 to 80% of consumers, when they experience a need for something, either a jewel for themselves or planning a trip or buying a couch, basically they surf the net. So at that point in time, I may grasp his or her attention, and then identifying this need, I can gather information to meet that requirement, and then I may actually impact on the client. With the digital technologies, you can support your potential customer throughout its process, not replacing physical channels. This is the big mistake that was made, and we can actually learn from the first who actually did away with the physical reality. Digital technology can support you, and in a way also keeping the physical stores. Digital technology can bring your customers inside the physical store. Oftentimes, your client is the wholesaler or the distributor. In large companies, usually it is different people that manage the final customer. In this case, basically, you start contacting or getting in touch with the final consumer at an earlier stage. Big data and analytics is the second step. How come that companies made decisions either they did so based on past experience, so they would basically sell a product and see how the sales went. But now I have the possibility to learn about my consumers or by thanks to the real-time information that provided by my clients. So of course, I have to have touch points. If I'm interested in e-commerce, if I want to sell my product through Yoox, for example, if it is a fashion product, or through Amazon, then it is either Yoox or Amazon who have the information. So I have to get in touch with them, and you have to make sure that this information actually have an impact on a selling process. And then there is another important valuable asset, and that is up until 25 years ago, companies would bring about innovation based on their core business. For example, if I were a car manufacturer, I would be innovative on the type of engine used on my cars. So the bigger my size, the more I would have funds to invest on my core competences. With digital technologies, there are another aspect to skills. There are skills that at times I might not have in-house, but I have to look for that also outside. For example, I can buy the technology and I could internalize these skills and these competences, which doesn't mean hiring 15,000 people. And Google, now they are buying up companies once a week. But what we could do is identify the models, is establishing relationship, and not just between the clients and the suppliers, but as partners. There are different types, different opportunities. What is important is to try and enter into some kind of relationship and to get hold of some competences that are not my own core business. Digital transformation is exactly this, refers exactly to this process. So it implies using all the opportunities that technologies, data and digital provides us with to transform my business model to obtain a competitive advantage vis-a-vis my competitors. Thank you, Duccio. You talked a lot about innovation in terms of business model. I have a question for Augusto then. Could you please report to us about what happened in your industry? Vendorafa Lombardi has undertaken important transformation, opened up an excellence pole in the Valenza region. Can you tell us about your experience that has been extremely innovative?
Grazie, sì.
Yes, thank you. This is an experience which we witnessed. I am in charge of Lombardi, the managing director of Lombardi, company set up more than 20 years ago. It's a medium-sized enterprise in the Valenza area. It's one of the companies which is part of medium-sized enterprises. And we all know that we have a rather limited number of staff. All the medium-sized and small and medium-sized enterprises have this in Italy. And this was part of our corporate culture, which was certainly influenced by a claim which in past times was the right, small is beautiful. Small is beautiful today is no longer a contemporary element, especially for those companies like ours, which are family-run companies. And so we had to search for solutions to create continuity. Second generations in the past felt they were obliged to inherit the business, which obliged even the second generations to shoulder this continuity and to look to the future of a company like ours. Ours was a craftsman-based company with 70 years of experience, a company which had to guarantee continuity and not to waste the know-how, which is today still part of our culture and of our know-how. So we looked for different solutions within our family members. We did not find solutions which could guarantee the third generation of entrepreneurs. And so we looked within the Valenza area, above all, solutions which could give possibility of integration and of operational continuity to our company. It was an interesting task, not a simple one, for sure. It was a task which today, luckily, led us to meet another company with a similar origin and with similar characteristics. They too were a craftsman-based company which evolved technologically and from an entrepreneurial point of view. We had the possibility of meeting, of exchanging opinions, and thanks to the intervention of the Equinox Fund, which believed and understood the value of these two companies, which do have the same origin and are present both in the Valenza area, where we have this craftsmanship approach to jewelry, and where in recent times major transformations have been achieved, also thanks to the presence of great players of the jewelry world. And in this way, the two companies found a way of communicating. This was understood and shared by the fund, which by nature is a financial investor. And so, with this project, they found, by integrating the two companies, the creation of a pole to satisfy what I said at the beginning. Small is beautiful in international competition, and what is happening in the world today is a major limitation. If the major players in the jewelry world also turn to Valenza and its companies, it means that they want to find answers in terms of quality products, quality in terms of the system as a company, someone producing the sustainability and the ethical processes which guarantee to the supply chain, a supply chain which, as Stephen said in the previous presentation, deems not just necessary but essential today for our field, for our industry. So in the production industry, you must be able to generate innovation, but guaranteeing this kind of an approach. So this is how the two companies merged, and thanks to the great availability I found in VPA and Livio Azzani, its chairman, to open up. Because another of the trends which we have experienced, thanks to the intervention of Andrea Garrone, who is the managing director, was we are going to integrate our forces. So he managed to overcome the separation of the concept that what is small and closed is all mine and I won't share it with anyone else. We instead decided that innovation meant putting on the table processes to share and training too, because you can have all the innovative structures in the world, but if you don't have the culture to govern this, if you don't have the culture to plan this, if you don't have the culture to reach those stages of processing, which means the last finishing touch of a cleaning machine which maintains the quality of the jewel and exalts its value, well, it's impossible for us to achieve a positive industrial result. This was our goal. This was our link. This is what made us understand that we were ready to work together. To work together means to train. It also means training, and training on the territory, because we have to safeguard the heritage of this territory. We're already doing this with companies, as we've already done, but with another initiative. We are from Valenza. The foundation Mani Intelligenti, intelligent hands, is working to keep alive that extraordinary heritage of excellence, know-how, tradition, of manufacturing, in which is the real heritage of this district, and not just of this district, the real heritage of Made in Italy. whatever is made in Italy. And so we're so proud to have reached this final result because we managed to pool a lot of competences, many hands, many heads, and many hearts. So this is one of the greatest sources of satisfaction. And I think it also marks a major innovative approach. In one of the meeting points of our club, meeting events of our club, a professor from Bocconi University said, we have to distinguish ourselves so as not to remain extinct. Our district had taken discouraging path. I think we have given a helping hand to not become extinct. Thank you, Andrea. For VPA, which were the drivers of this operation? I think there's also a technological dimension and competitive edge aspect too. Thank you, Alexandra, and thank you to Augusto for the passion with which he described the beginning of this operation, an operation which is important for VPA too. VPA has always invested in technology. It's a company which has a 40-year-old history, but for the past 20 years we've been investing in technology, trying to find the right compromise between what is technology and what is craftsmanship. So we too are a positive example of the city of Valencia and the opportunity the fund has given us to put together two companies which were so different in terms of identity, but so similar in terms of values and principles, not just moral principles, but also corporate management principles, has allowed us to become a point of reference within Europe. Alexandra, one of the main reasons for which we pushed in favor of this operation was to reach a dimension, a size, which would allow us to be in line with our European competitors. In recent years, production for the great luxury brands increased greatly. We know that in jewelry, the luxury brands have gone from roughly 20% to 40% of world jewelry, of the world jewelry market. And they showed that they needed service. They needed the plants to be structured and to be organized in a certain way. And we, with this operation, are trying to take a further qualitative step forward. Within VPI and Vendora, we are trying to have all the technological and technical capabilities. We have a differentiation and complementarity of customers and of types of processing, which can offer us a lot of added value. In the past few weeks, we've put our production plants in contact with each other so as to try to find opportunities for mutual improvement. I think that this is in line with what Augusto said. This is certainly different compared to the past. The secrecy of the technical aspects has always been one of the main characteristics of the jewelry sector. We instead are trying to carry out the exact opposite. We have had a very important return in terms of enthusiasms. But managers compare views, assess the opportunities together, and this is a great solution. Together with technological innovation, we're trying to develop process innovation too. As Augusto said, when I speak of process innovation, I mean a clear organization with a clear definition of roles. And we're also trying to train our resources. In the city of Valencia and in our companies, the technical aspect has always been preserved. We have to invest more in training. And so also the financial and asset solidity the fund allows us to have gives us a more medium long-term vision, which allows us to invest in human resources. Previously, I heard the colleagues speak of the digital dimension. In our field, we're still in a primary stage. Although we've invested in technology with numerical control machines, and we've devoted a lot of attention to this. But the digital soul is so important, as well as sustainability. These are souls which we will manage to achieve by training our human resources, which is not just a specialist training. We have highly qualified technicians in Valenza. We're investing with the foundation Mani Intelligenti. We're investing with schools where the most experienced people are teaching young people. But we also need a growth of basic culture, social involvement, to be more aligned with the needs of our customers who are increasingly taxing. Within VPA, we specialized in supplying a 360-degree service to large retailers, and we have obtained important results. In recent years, we've grown our volumes and our work a lot. Even in this difficult year, we've managed to see that we are on the right path. We believe that this operation has allowed us to achieve a further step forward and to boost our response to the needs of our major clients. So thank you, Andrea. Speaking of partnership innovation in terms of a business model, Simona, I know that you two have had a recent experience of a company shake-up. Tell us about this different choice. Yes, thank you, Alexandra, for having invited us. Thank you to Il Club degli Orafi, which gives us the opportunity of giving you this news as something brand new. We, in the month of March, have taken an important step forward for the company. We've changed our shareholders from 2014 to 2019, the company had undergone a major restructuring process to find financial solidity and a management control system, which was missing. The company had grown a lot, but it was being managed in a rather simple way by the Demeglio family, which owned it. In these years, we have entrusted ourselves to financial partners who have solidified, strengthened the structure of the company. They've strengthened the idea of corporate approach as part of our DNA. And so we're ready to go to the next level. The next level was expansion. And so we were already present in many foreign markets. 85% of our turnover is exported, and many results have been obtained in the first 5 years. Our company was included in the ranking of Il Sole 24 Ore Financial Daily as one of the companies with the highest growth rate in the period from 2014 to 2017. And amongst the first in the jewelry industry. And we had positioned ourselves our 35th position. We had already achieved important results, but we were ready to carry out a more important expansion because we had a product which was highly innovative and highly recognizable, which has always been the point of strength of Italian companies. Quality products, design products, innovative products. Then you need the strength and the capacity of exporting this and of communicating this in a market which is no longer that receptive vis-à-vis jewels. So you have to find new methods, new voices to communicate with our public, which is losing this culture, this passion for jewelry. We had the product because the product has always been our point of strength. The fact that Roberto, speaking of design and engineering, has always represented an excellence in the world of design and jewelry. And we had to find industrial partners and no longer just financial partners, capable of offering us their know-how and assisting us in this development stage. We chose to join forces with a Monte Carlo company with whom we had already been closely cooperating for the past 3 to 4 years, because there was a synergy of vision, philosophy, and Also, it was something very important because we wanted to find the strength to continue. We go to work very happy and we have a lot of fun despite the difficulties we have every day. We're obviously not blind vis-a-vis the period we are tackling and the uncertainty the future appears to hold. This is the Institut Gémologique de Monaco, GM. They acquired 48% of the company. We decided to join our capacity of having an innovative vision of the product with our capacity of managing the company at a managerial level and our sales network in the countries where we're already present with their 30-year experience on the acquisition of gemstones, especially diamonds, and in selling high-range jewelry. High-end jewelry. And so in March, we carried out this change, and we expect major improvements because spaces are opening up with this pandemics and with this crisis. And I'm sure that the companies which will manage to have a different vision as to the future and the financial strength to tackle this will be able to recover in an important way other fields made in Italy, like fashion and art. So certainly you'll make it, and we really hope this. Diego, Fope too carried out an innovative approach from a financial point of view, with a different choice, that of going public, listing on the stock exchange. What was this experience like? A little unique, wasn't it, for our field? Yes, thank you, Alexandra. Well, first of all, I want to say that I have the honor and pleasure of being in a company where innovation is the distinctive trait which has marked its history and upon which the development strategies are based. Fope has innovation in its DNA, and I use the word DNA purposely because the different generations which have guided Fope have always used innovation as a strategic element to overcome moments of difficulty and to adopt new growth and development steps. I believe that entrepreneurs, as you said at the beginning, must see innovation on a 360-degree level. We are usually used of speaking of technological innovation. Those who know us know that we're really concentrating on technological innovation of products and processes. But in this case, our entrepreneur decided to tackle in a different way, 360 degrees, governance and our relationship with finance. It was at the end of 2015. There was a major growth trend, an excellent financial position. And for Fope, we wanted to create a new stage. And the solution was to go public, to list Fope in the AEM segment of the Milan Stock Exchange. This is a segment which welcomes companies with a stock market capitalization up to 40-50 million. The other segment, instead, is for the bigger companies. I want to attract your attention not so much on technical aspects and numbers, but on the fact that we decided to tackle this project, a project which then was completed successfully in 2016 in order to create a new identity, a new structure, which was mainly organizational for Fope, so that the fact of taking part, being part of Fope, It must be part and parcel of the mentality of the company. And this actually happened. In other words, what did we do? It was a question of speaking to institutional investors who wanted to listen to our story. We included them in our history, the history of Fope, because investors want to understand what is the history of the company, but as a foundation for these so-called success factors in the different areas of development. You must be an organization which says, if I go from Trento to Milan, the investor must know that you go, not only with the numbers. The numbers are then measured, and investors are masters, but they have to understand what's your organization, how you work, what are your IT systems, what's your technological innovation, what are you doing, what is your digital approach. And so it's a great satisfaction when you speak to an investor who knows about jewels only because he's given his wife a present, and you convince him of how good your project is. And it's not just a simple involvement, yes, well done, you did well, but it's something which generates a cash flow. So this investor decides to acquire a piece of your share.
It is in this sense that the family opens up to the capital and to an exchange of idea, which happens on a daily basis. The investor has welcomed this successful family that decided to share strategies. When you're listed at the stock exchange market, you're actually living between crystal walls. Being listed means transparency, complete disclosure, compliance with the rules. That was already our situation prior to being listed. Of course, this is not something you can improvise. We are a large company, but we are not that big now that we're listed. But we were able to share with our investors our values, transparency, and all what we do on a daily basis. This is a very important experience. As I was telling you before, we have daily relationships with the investors, which this does not mean having to talk to analysts or being stressed by figures and results. Of course, we have a relationship with our analysts, but on a daily basis, we have communication with our institutional investors and also small investors who bought shares for 5,000 euros, even though the floated capital is not more than 25%. And our family still holds complete control of our processes and strategies. But nevertheless, we have a diffuse base of investors who expect from us that we create value. And the people working in our company have understood this. And when we meet today, we do not only talk about figures and accounts, but we think about creating value in the medium term, because this is the target of all the shareholders. So we share our experience with them. Thank you very much, Diego. Well, technological innovation must have been a significant theme in all these operations. Well, we know, Paolo, that your company is well known as an innovative company. So for Better Silver, how important was innovation in relation to your growth and also in terms of being competitive on international markets? Well, for sure, innovation has always been paramount. It is in the DNA of our company. And it is our desire and my father's desire to make the difference. Often looking at other industries to learn, visiting fairs of other sectors that can give you significant inputs, significant contributions. Many innovations were born out of our investigations in other industries. In our company, however, we do not talk of innovation, we talk of ingenuity. This apparently only semantic difference reveals that we want to be updated, to use the latest technologies, but we also want to be able to integrate it in our organization with the ingenuity which is typical of the Italians. And this is what the world envies to Italians. I mean, technology is there for everybody. You don't always develop technology in your company, but the way how you integrate it, the way how you use it, the way how you produce competitive value, well, this is related to the ingenuity of each single company. I believe that innovation in our company is diffuse. It is there 360 degrees. Sometimes manufacturing companies have a so-called productive scoliosis. What I mean to say is that they buy the latest lathe, the latest machinery, and then maybe you do not want to buy a new server because it may cost 10,000 euros. Well, 10 years ago, we realized that it was necessary to have funds for investments in other types of innovation. That's why digitization has become our bread and butter. Digitization, I mean, think about the logistics, think about communication. I mean, innovation is everywhere. Innovation is a model for corporate development, imbuing all the different areas of the company. And this generates culture in the company, corporate culture. These processes of change must be welcomed by the individuals. You might be a very innovative company, but then in the workshop or in the office, people are not willing to take on innovation. So it is very important to work on this, involving the people. Well, many people who work with us in our company, they come to us and they say, did you know that there is this possibility? And we have the digital specialist, that is a person who recognizes the utility of other solutions found in other companies and being able to integrate them in our company. In other words, on one hand, we look in other industries, we involve our staff, and innovation is 360 degrees in our company. These three factors have provided us with a competitive advantage that is based on the capability of the Italian companies to be able to react to the requirements of large groups who maybe need to sort out specific problems, and that's why they turn to you. Large groups and made in Italy. Andrea, Vendorafa Lombardi is well known for their technological innovation. So, how do you see made in Italy in the future? Well, as we've heard from Augusto, we are investing, focusing also on the important brands we have in our city. In the last 10 years, from 10,000 people working in this industry, now we have a little more than 4,000. So it is difficult to find specialized workers, specialized labor. And the opportunity to work within a group with companies like Bulgari and Cartier is something fabulous for the smaller companies, because this allows us to communicate to young people that there are very interesting job opportunities. Opportunities that can provide these young people with an interesting future. So we are investing in schools as well. I agree with what he told us before. You know, it is clear that innovation is also training, it is also education. And it is necessary to involve people. It is not easy to teach young people. The best goldsmith, the best jeweler who can produce wonderful objects is not necessarily able to train people. So training, the training of the young people and the training of the trainers, because the trainers are the pivotal element in the development of companies. These large luxury groups require services. They have many unmet needs. So he was right when he stressed the importance of digitization of companies, because this will allow us to be more efficient. This will allow us to meet the needs of the large groups in a flexible way. Large groups are not as flexible as we can be, so the real added value we can provide is that of adapting in a short time to their needs. If we quickly adapt to their needs, we're able to create a barrier to protect us from other nations where labor costs are significantly lower than in Italy. And in this way, we will have our own long-term opportunity. Thank you very much, Andrea. So talking about the future and about Made in Italy, I remember yesterday Jérôme Favier of Damiani, who stressed how important it is to tell the story of Made in Italy. What does Roberto Demeglio do, Simona, with international companies? How do you tell the story of your brand, thinking about the Chinese or the American markets? Well, Roberto Demeglio has decided to open a company directly in one of the markets that has the strongest growth potential. This is the American market. We're already there with our brand, with the distributor, but we're now going to be present in person. We believe this is the best way to press on the gas pedal in these difficult moments. So we are going to incorporate a company, putting together our know-how about the product, the quality, the logistics, merging it with the commercial know-how of our distributor to create a joint venture in the United States. And then we also would like to open up a workshop in the United States with the idea of exporting our know-how, our manufacturing know-how, our manufacturing excellence directly on the market that needs it. The United States produce predominantly in the Asian countries. It is a price issue. However, the technology we have developed with our manufacturing processes and our innovative processes allows us to have a price very similar to the Asian manufacturing price. So why shouldn't we bring our know-how directly there, to that market that needs it? I don't want to talk about tariffs and all the barriers that are making the situation more difficult, but we want to be more present on that market. We want to bring our technology, not only as a support to our distribution, but also to support manufacturing companies in the United States. So this is what we're doing now. Service is the winning element together with the product today to allow a brand to grow. The culture of service is something pervading every possible industry, fashion, jewelry. Requiring an item that might be customized but has to be ready as quickly as possible. Think about Amazon delivering in a couple of days or even the day after. This is very difficult in our industry, but this is a challenge. We must get ready. We must have an organization allowing us to provide this kind of service. And to do this in the United States, we believe that the best choice is that of having a joint venture there with our own company and our own workshop. Thank you very much, Simona. So talking about future developments, Paolo, in the last 6 months, how has your job changed? And which is the best way to approach this significant change? Like many other companies, we had profited from this period of time to reorganize, to enact strategies that we were keeping in our drawer and we could not enact due to many other daily chores. So we have invested, we have continued our growth as programmed at the beginning of 2020, and we have made use of these strange times to actualize many decisions. For sure, the future is very uncertain right now. However, I believe, and this brings me back to what we have just said about the Italian way. I mean, we were talking about large groups before, and being part of a cluster like the Vicenza one or the Valenza one is really becoming the key to success. In an area 30, 40 kilometers, there are the best technological innovations, partnerships with suppliers, professionals, consultants. In other words, the context is such as to be able to provide immediate answers and reactions to those who are on the other side of the world and have the money but do not succeed in doing what we managed to do. So our company thrives because of our context. Quick solutions can be found. In the past, this was not possible. In other words, I believe that this is a very important point. And I believe that our customers recognize this. Well, I believe that it is evident that innovation is now an integral part of the activities of our companies. However, there is another important topic I would like to briefly touch on: sustainability. What does Fope do as far as sustainability is concerned? Can we talk of innovation in terms of sustainability? We certainly can. Our company is RJC certified, so we have always had virtuous processes from this viewpoint. 3 years ago, however, we decided to find out exactly what sustainability meant for our company. And this was born out of our own sensitivity. I mean, when I buy something, I want to know about the company I buy the product from. I want to know what they do in their social context. I want to know what they do for their environment. So we decided to start measuring and to start writing sustainability reports. 3 years ago, we involved our auditors, who also have a department for this kind of initiatives, and we have made our own sustainability balance. I mean, talking about sustainability is beautiful. It takes common sense, but you also have to write down the figures. It is like financial accounts. If somebody asks you details about your financial situation, well, you need your accounts. And the same is for sustainability. So we have applied the most strict rules at international level, and we've been measuring everything. And this was a very interesting experience. We have measured the kilograms of waste we produce, the type of waste, the water we used, the social component, the hours of training for our staff, the different level of salaries in a comparison with what is a standard in our industry. And we have taken a snapshot of the situation, and then we have activated an improvement process. So we have activated some levels of improvement, and this was very, very interesting. We are communicating this to our customers. We believe that our customers appreciate the fact that Fope produces jewels in a sustainable way. I mean, we do not want to be Superman. What is important is to measure what to do and to know which is your position. A couple of years ago, we launched a project which was about our carbon footprint. So we have measured our carbon footprint, and we have realized that we could not do away with our carbon footprint. I'm talking of all what happens from when we buy raw materials until the bracelet is in the shop. So carbon dioxide that we produce, and that cannot be totally eliminated, and it cannot be significantly reduced either, because most of the carbon dioxide we produce is related to airplane flights. We're talking of dozens of tons of carbon dioxide. 1,000 kilometers by car produces about 300 kilograms of carbon dioxide. If you travel from Venice to New York, you produce 800 kilograms of carbon dioxide. If you have a shower, 500 grams of carbon dioxide. So every activity we perform produces carbon dioxide. Then we decided to compensate for this, and we have activated a process according to which we buy and plant trees. The trees we plant neutralize or compensate for the carbon dioxide we release into the air with our activities. There are some organizations that monitor all this. We have approximately 1,000 trees in Kenya. We chose Kenya as the place where we wanted to plant our trees. Our trees are geolocalized. Digital technology allows you to do everything. And we were able to compensate for our emissions in 2018 and 2019. Is this important? I don't know, but we're very proud of this. Thank you very much, Diego. Well, after this very interesting ideas, which are the measures a company should undertake to be more innovative and more digital? Duccio. Well, Alkemy was born in 2012, and October 2012, somebody asked me a similar question, which is still a very important one, and I quoted the 3 C's. C for consapevolezza, i.e. awareness. which means understanding that these themes are important and they're not only technological. And I think that the COVID crisis has helped us understand this. Then, of course, we have C for competencies. You need to grow your competencies in this field. And then you need commitment. That's a third C. Because we're talking about processes spanning over a long period of time. You need a lot of management commitment to do something in this direction. But first of all, you need to understand that this is strategic for the survival of companies in the future. Thank you. Well, I believe that, like Augusto said, the generational change is also a very important topic in this respect. Augusto, tell us about your experience and what would you recommend to Made in Italy companies that are going through this kind of change right now? Well, we're aware of the fact that we come from a generation that was born and grew up with the idea small is beautiful. This influenced the entrepreneurial structures. We had family companies that have two contradictions. I mean, family means protection. Family and enterprise means venture, risk. Maintaining this balance with competence, with skills, with capabilities, with all what is necessary for a company to be successful, i.e. innovation, capability of being competitive, creative, innovative. I mean, this is a heritage that grows inside a company. In a family company, this is the heritage of the family culture. So transferring this know-how outside the family is a fundamental element. But how do you do that? You do that with training. All too often, however, have we seen in our industry companies that did not evolve because the generation change caught them unprepared. They didn't know how to tackle this. They didn't know what to do. Therefore, sometimes you are confronted with decisions that you cannot make because you do not have the skills to make those decisions because your company has not been prepared for that. In a company, there are dynamics, roles, competencies, and the company must be ready because the company must go on working. Also under the illuminated leadership of the entrepreneur, but also without the entrepreneur. So it is a necessary transfer of culture through training. And this brings me back to the know-how our colleague mentioned before, that know-how that develops inside a company. And this is culture. It is corporate culture that has to be transferred. Corporate culture, just like the family that has to come to terms with the success of a company and at the same time understand and predict the future, which is not related to the biological age of the family members, but it is related to the values of the company, which is the secret. In my opinion, the secret is exchange. Exchanging ideas and culture, you can further develop those competencies that are paramount. So you need training, cultural exchange, and step by step. There are no shortcuts. There are no one-size-fits-all solutions. You can't buy this online. You have to be active part of the process of change of our companies, belonging to that context that was mentioned, that must be safeguarded, clusters, as well as the whole production structure of our country that has fabulous, exceptional skills and values for creativity, innovation, and presence on international markets. Made in Italy is related to entrepreneurship. these entrepreneurs may risk everything, but they have connected the name of our country with quality, creativity, and culture.
Thank you, Augusto. And you mentioned the club. I thank you on behalf of the club and on my own behalf for your participation. Thank you so much. And thank you to the Italian Exhibition Group for the invitation and for this partnership we're very proud and happy of. Let's hope we can meet again in January. Bye-bye.